You ever see someone so confident, so sure nothing can touch them, until reality hits? This guy thought he was funny, just another tourist in London trying to get a laugh by messing with one of the Queen's guards. He joked, yelled, even mocked the man's silence. But the second he touched that big black hat, everything changed. And the way the guard reacted? Let's just say, he won't be making that mistake again. A city where history is stitched into every stone wall and street corner. From double-decker buses to ancient cathedrals, it's a place where old meets new. And nowhere is that more visible than Buckingham Palace. Every single day, thousands of people crowd the black and gold gates. They come from all over the world, families on vacation, couples on honeymoon, solo travelers with cameras slung around their necks, just for a glimpse of tradition. And right in front of them are the Queen's guards. You've probably seen them in pictures or viral videos. The tall, expressionless men in bright scarlet-red uniforms and those huge black bearskin hats, standing perfectly still, staring straight ahead. They look like statues. But here's what a lot of people don't realize. These guards, they're real soldiers, not actors, not security staff. They're trained members of the British Army, men who've seen real combat, who've spent years in service, and who take their roles seriously. Their job at Buckingham Palace isn't just ceremonial, it's symbolic. They represent centuries of royal history, order, and respect. And that's exactly why they don't react to taunts, jokes, or loud tourists. It's all part of their discipline. But here's the thing. Some people don't get that. They think the guard's silence is weakness. They see the uniform and assume it's just for show. And that's where this story begins. It was a gray afternoon, skies heavy with cloud but no rain yet. A quiet breeze swept across the gravel courtyard in front of the palace. Tourists were doing the usual, taking selfies, giggling, pointing at the guards from a distance. Some were respectful, admiring from behind the ropes. But there was one man who didn't get it. He was in his early 30s, loud, confident, and trying a little too hard to be funny. You know the type. He had a bright hoodie on, sunglasses pushed up into eye, his hair, phone in one hand, filming himself as he strutted toward one of the guards. His accent wasn't local, probably American, and he was talking loud enough for the whole area to hear. "Yo, check this out. These guys don't even blink," he laughed, swinging his phone toward the guard. "You alive in there, mate? Earth to Buckingham." Some tourists chuckled nervously. Others looked uncomfortable. A few even tried to pull him back, telling him to chill out, to be respectful. But he didn't listen. He was putting on a show. He paced around the guard, mimicking his stiff posture, pretending to salute. He even made robot noises and walked stiff-legged next to him like some kind of joke. The guard didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even seem to breathe, and that only encouraged him more. The tourist leaned in closer, now practically inches from the guard's face. "Dude, are you even human?" Still, nothing. He smirked, turned to the crowd and yelled, "All right, watch this. Let's see if I can wake him up." And that's when it happened. He reached out and tapped the top of the guard's bearskin hat. And in that instant, everything changed. It was like time paused. The second his fingers touched the hat, just a tap, not even hard, the entire courtyard seemed to hold its breath. And then, the guard moved. First, it was his foot. A sharp, heavy stomp forward. Boom! The sound echoed off the palace walls like a warning shot. Then, his voice. "Step away from the guard." Loud, commanding, deep. The kind of voice that cuts through noise, through arrogance, through anything. And it worked. The tourist's expression changed in an instant. Gone was the smirk, the swagger. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He stumbled backward so fast he nearly tripped over his own feet, trying to put distance between himself and the now very not still guard. His phone clattered to the ground. People gasped. Some even cheered. The guard didn't move again after that. He returned to position, eyes forward as if nothing had happened. But for everyone watching, everything had changed. You could feel the shift in the air. The crowd, once full of chuckles and whispers, now stood quiet, still, and honestly, kind of stunned. The tourist bent down, grabbed his phone, and mumbled something like, "My bad," before disappearing into the crowd. There was no more joking, no more clowning around. He was done. And even though the whole thing lasted less than 10 seconds, it was unforgettable. Multiple people had caught it on camera. You can even hear in the videos. The moment the guard shouts, someone in the background goes, "Oh, he's in trouble now." Another says, "That's what you get." And someone else just laughed and said, "Respect, total respect." What made it powerful wasn't violence. The guard didn't hit him. He didn't push him. He just reminded him, with one stomp, one command, exactly who he was. Not a toy, not a statue, a soldier, a man doing his duty, and someone who absolutely deserves respect. After the guard's shout echoed through the courtyard, something changed, not just in the tourist, but in everyone watching. People froze. A few instinctively stepped back. Others stared at the guard with wide eyes, as if seeing him properly for the first time. That crowd, once casual and noisy, turned respectful in a heartbeat. You could hear whispers. "Did that just happen? I didn't know they were allowed to talk." Whoa. He moved. The tourist, for his part, didn't hang around. Red-faced, shaken, and silent for the first time all day, he disappeared into the crowd without another word. No more filming, no final joke, just gone. And honestly, that's probably the best thing he could have done. Because the truth hit him, and everyone else watching, like a ton of bricks. These guards aren't there for entertainment. They're not theme park attractions. They're soldiers, trained, disciplined, proud. Tour guides began stepping in, explaining the rules. You can look, but don't touch. Keep your distance. They are allowed to react if provoked. Even kids who had been giggling just minutes before were now whispering in hushed tones, tugging on their parents' hands to move along, eyes fixed on the guard who hadn't moved since. One older man in the crowd said it best. He turned to the people next to him and muttered, "That guy just learned a life lesson, for free." And he wasn't wrong. The incident spread like wildfire online. Clips of the moment popped up everywhere, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Some people joked about it. Some turned it into memes. But most people applauded the guard for holding his ground. Comments poured in. Respect to the guard. He kept it cool and still handled it like a pro. Bet that guy never acts like that again. It wasn't just about embarrassment. It was about respect, about understanding there are boundaries you don't cross. And even if you're on vacation, even if you think you're being funny. That moment in the courtyard left an impression far beyond just one tourist. It reminded everyone watching, whether in person or online, why those guards are standing there in the first place. Here's the thing. What happened that day? It wasn't just a viral moment or some funny tourist fail video. It was a wake-up call. Because behind that red uniform, behind the towering black hat and the stone-still expression, is a person. A trained soldier, someone who's endured grueling drills, harsh weather, long hours, and maybe even combat zones we'll never know about. He's not standing there to entertain. He's standing there to represent something. Honor, discipline, duty, the kind of values that don't need words but deserve respect. And when someone mocks that, when they treat that uniform like a prop, that job like a joke, they're not just being disrespectful. They're being ignorant. But here's the good news. Respect can be learned. And that moment, right there on the cobblestones of Buckingham Palace, taught a lesson louder than any history book could. It reminded everyone watching, whether up close or through a screen, that tradition matters. That self-control isn't weakness. And that silence isn't surrender, it's strength. So next time you see a royal guard standing still in the rain, remember, it takes more courage to hold your ground than to raise your voice. And sometimes, the strongest response is no response at all, until it's absolutely necessary. What do you think? Was the guard right to react the way he did? Or did the tourist push it way too far? Tell us in the comments. We read every single one. If this moment made you stop and think, if it reminded you why respect matters, then do us a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe for more real stories like this, and ring that bell so you never miss the next one. We've got more powerful moments, lessons in character, and stories that stick with you coming every week. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes silence speaks louder than words.